Good morning. This is going to be a condensed version of the church service for January 2nd, 2022, that for Stark United Methodist Church. And it does happen to be Epiphany today. I hope this fall finds you safe and warm in these cold temperatures. And I know I said in an earlier email to you that the snow is so pretty here in Girard, which it is. It's already starting to melt. But I do realize it does create a hardship for farmers and livestock people. And I'm just praying and saying a little extra prayer that you all keep safe while you're out tending the livestock. And it is an extra hassle to do that on a cold day like today, and that you do not lose any of your livestock or crops to this cold snap that we're having. As I said earlier, this is Epiphany today. Just some announcements here. We will move communion to next Sunday since we were not able to have it today. The quilting group will be meeting on Wednesdays. On Wednesday afternoon at 3:30, we're going to have a network meeting at our church. There'll probably be about 10 pastors coming, and we thank Glenda Taylor for she's going to provide the meal for that, and we really appreciate that. There should be about 10 pastors coming in. Next Sunday, we also have an administrative board meeting at 8:30 in the morning. Let me see. And then on the 16th, we're going to have a special offering for human relations. So don't forget about that. The 17th is Martin Luther King Day. Glenda Kochkin has a birthday coming up on the 18th, so I won't let her forget that. Then Orders and Fellowship for all the clergy is on January 24th to 26th, and it's going to be online because of COVID. So I'll be catching as much of that as I can online, but also my husband will keep me updated on this. And Sandy, we have a year-end report due at the end of the month. I moved a personal deadline up for me on January 28th to make sure that's done. So just hope you're all keeping safe and warm this Sunday. I will be posting on the email I send out with this sermon link. I will also put a few songs that we would have sung this Sunday. The first reading is Ephesians chapter 3, verses 1 through 6 from the New International Version, and it's about God's marvelous plan for the Gentiles. For this reason, I, Paul, the prisoner of Christ Jesus, for the sake of you Gentiles, surely you have heard about the administration of God's grace that was given to me for you. That is a mystery made known to me by revelation, as I have already written briefly. In reading this, then, you will be able to understand my insight into the mystery of Christ, which was not made known to people in other generations, and it has now been revealed by the Spirit of God's holy apostles and prophets. This mystery is that through the gospel of the Gentiles are heirs together with Israel, members together of one body, and sharers together in the promise in Christ Jesus. The second reading is from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, from whom you shall become For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. Now, if it had been wise women instead of wise men, they would have come to find the newborn king of the Jews. Things would have been a little bit different, because you know how we are. One, they would have arrived before the baby was born and helped with the delivery. They would have brought practical gifts like diapers and baby clothes. Then they would have made a casserole and put together a babysitting schedule. But that's just how we are. The way we search for things has changed a lot over the last few years. We just got done doing Christmas shopping, getting ready for it. When I first started buying presents, back around 1980, one had to guess what people wanted, then physically go to the store and purchase items, which was kind of exciting. It was always fun to go out and about and, find all the special buys and everything. Sometimes one could do like my mother and order items from the Sears catalog. We lived out on a farm. There were 7 of us kids. It was hard, and she did not drive a car. So it was difficult for her to get to a place to shop for presents. If she wanted to go and shop for presents, sometimes we would go to the White Lakes Mall in Topeka, if you remember that one. My dad would drive all of us there. We would split up and do our shopping, and he would sit out in the middle of the mall and eat popcorn. But sometimes my mother would order from the Sears catalog. Of course, that was the predecessor to Amazon. With raising, she would order not many kids. She would order many items from the Sears catalog, because of not being able to drive and having 7 kids out on a farm. The items would sometimes be delivered directly to our house, but most of the time, Dad would drive her to the Sears store in Topeka, and she would pick up the items. So how many of you remember looking in the Sears toy catalog and circling the items that you wanted? I certainly did that. I remember doing that, and sometimes it was the Penny's catalog. It was either Sears or Penny's. It was like a treasure chest. Now, a version of that, my kids send me links online through Amazon or text giving me an idea of what they would like me to get for themselves, their spouses, and children. Then I do not even have to leave the house to get the item. I can even have it delivered to their house, and not have it come to my house. When Ben lived in Idaho, he and Tyann were not able to come home to Kansas that Christmas, so we had a chair delivered to their house in Idaho. We still have items delivered to his house in Springfield. So searching for things has really changed. We can just do it online. I really did not have to do very much of my shopping in stores, and the stores I did go to were all in Girard or in Pittsburgh. I do that for groceries, household items, and clothing. It's been a long time, ages since I've gone to Joplin to go shopping. I used to get many of the supplies I needed for school online. Even textbooks had become digital. Too bad there was not online grocery pickup until the year I retired. That would have been nice for the groceries I had to buy for Northeast. Another thing that has made finding things easier is by the GPS. At one time, we had to rely on an map, and maybe have to do what men hate to do, stop and ask for directions. And yes, Steve was like everybody else. I was always the one that had to ask for directions. The wise men had something to help them in their search for the newborn king of the Jews. It was a star. The star was their way of knowing that the king of the Jews had been born, and also guided them so they could find him. The star was like their GPS. We really don't know much about these wise men, or magi as they're called. We just know they come from the east and follow the star. Were they astrologers? Were they kings, as the song says? Did they come from the Orient or Persia? Did they ride camels? Pictures of them we see always have them riding camels, but there's nothing in the Bible about camels. Were there 3 of them? They had 3 gifts, but there were maybe more than 3. They say that there was a 4th wise man, but he was turned away because he brought a fruitcake. Were they Jews living in a different country, or were they Gentiles? What we do know is that God sent them a sign, the star, and they followed the star. They went searching for this newborn king and found him. In the Bible, we see that God reveals himself to people in various ways. God came to Abraham in the form of three men telling him that his wife Sarah would have a baby in her old age. God told Abraham he would be the father of a great nation. God came to Moses in the burning bush telling him to free the people from slavery in Egypt. God revealed himself to the people in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, leading them in the wilderness to the promised land. God spoke to Samuel as a little boy in the night. Later, when Samuel was older, God spoke to him to anoint David as a king. God spoke to Elijah when he was hiding in a cave in a small, still voice. Other prophets were spoken to by God in various ways as well. In the New Testament, Peter, James, and John are present when Jesus is transfigured before them. Paul has a vision on the road to Damascus that changes his life from being a persecutor of Christians to being one of the early leaders of the church. Peter has a dream of a sheep coming down with all sorts of animals that are considered unclean and told to take and eat, declaring all foods clean. John will receive a vision of Jesus with a message about the end times that he tells about in the book of Revelation. These are just a few of the ways God reveals himself to his people. It seems God takes the first step in revealing himself to people, then they seek after him and find him. The wise men, as far as we know, were not searching for the star. God revealed the star to them. After they saw the star, they started seeking him. In Revelations chapter 3, verse 20, it says, "Listen, I am standing at the door knocking. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to you and eat with you and you with me." Jesus does the knocking. It is up to us to open the door. Some people have painted a picture of this, and if you look closely at the picture, there is not a doorknob on the outside. Jesus has to open it after we knock on the door. As John 3:16 says, God so loved the world that he sent his only son. God sent him to us. We can find God in lots of different ways, and for each one of us, it might be different. For some, it might be a dramatic experience like a bolt of lightning, and for some, it might be that soft, still voice. For the writer of Amazing Grace, it was during a storm in the ocean. For the writer of It Is Well With My Soul, it was on a ship going across the ocean at a place where his children died when the ship they were on sank in a storm. Some people do not know a time when they didn't believe. They were raised in the church and have always believed. Each experience is valid as long as we seek after him. In Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 13, it says, "When you search for me, you will find me, if you seek me with all your heart." So let us seek God in this new year.